Good morning, everybody. I'm Lars Lewis. Welcome to my house. Now, I mentioned this late last night, before I went to bed. I received quite a few messages, whether on Instagram or on the phone, about what happened last night between Notre Dame and Ohio State. Now, for those who don't know, as you can obviously tell, I have been a Notre Dame fan throughout my entire life. And oddly enough, being from Buffalo, New York, I was a Notre Dame fan before I even became a Bills fan. Notre Dame, to me, is number one. So regarding last night, Lucy pulled the football away again. For me, this is Tuesday. Ohio State wins on the final play of the game at the 1-yard line to beat Notre Dame 16-14. And I have a few notes. I wanted to talk about the game, talk about all of the things that were brought to my attention by quite a few of you, and also what Notre Dame is going to do next week against Duke to adjust themselves after what happened late in the game last night. So, let's set the scene, shall we? Notre Dame, going into last night, had not beaten Ohio State since 1936. Yes, that was before Frank Leahy was even coaching the team. Now, they've only played 5 times since 1936, so we'll put that into context. However, Ohio State has won every game since. So that was on the line last night. Notre Dame trailed 10-0 going into the third quarter. Sam Hartman, the transfer quarterback from Wake Forest, clean game. Had 180 yards passing, had a touchdown, no interceptions, no fumbles. Really no bad plays with the exception of just one. But in reality, he was solid, which is a lot more I could say compared to the Notre Dame quarterbacks of the past 15 years. With that said, Estime was solid. We knew going into this that Ohio State had an extremely elite front four. Their defense is as good as any in the country. The main difference in this game was that Notre Dame did not have the wide receiving talent that Ohio State possesses in Marvin Harrison Jr. and Egbuka. Those two guys are going to be first-round picks in the NFL when they leave college. No doubt in my mind. They're saying Marvin Harrison's going to be a top 5 pick, which I wouldn't be shocked at all. He's elite. The man's route running is incredible. He looks just like his dad. But Notre Dame, for the most part, they kept them under wraps. You hold an Ohio State team to 10 points going into the very last second of the game, I'm pretty sure that the defense did more than enough to allow Notre Dame to win this game. However, that wasn't the case. Not even the final drive of the game where Ohio State went all the way down the field and scored at the 1-yard line. That alone I'll go into. But there's something that happened after that fourth and goal stand, which Notre Dame had 3 of those in this game against Ohio State. After that stop on 4th down deep in Notre Dame territory with only 4 minutes left in the game, there was one play that happened before Notre Dame punted the ball back to Ohio State for the Buckeyes to have their final drive of the game. It was 2nd and 10. Notre Dame moved the ball all the way to their own 32. Ohio State had 1 timeout left. You would think you have a great run game, you have Estime, keep the clock moving. You just ran for a first down on the previous set of downs. Keep pounding the rock. They called a play-action rollout on 2nd and 10 that went incomplete. And not only stopped the clock, but kept Ryan Day from using his final timeout, which he may have had to use at that time, given that Notre Dame was already completing 2 first downs after the turnover. That is play I question a lot, considering that the strength of Notre Dame is running the football. So with that, Notre Dame, third down, couldn't get it, had to punt. Ohio State got the ball, and they had 3rd and 10 at their own 35-yard line. Now, Notre Dame had brought a lot of heat throughout the second half, throwing a lot of Mike blitzes, 5-man rush, and Ohio State, for the most part, was doing a good job at keeping McCord clean. 3rd and 10, 1:18 left in the game, ball's on the OSU 35. Egbuka runs a skinny post down the middle. Notre Dame rushes 5. It gets picked up. McCord throws a beautiful ball right in the hands of Egbuka. First down. Okay. It's going to happen. They're going to convert a third down. Ball is still close to midfield. Now we go to 4th and 7. 51 seconds left. Ball on the Notre Dame 39. Notre Dame rushes 5 again. They blitz again. But there is a trips formation on the left side for Ohio State. And I'd say for Ryan Day, this was a gorgeous play design. Julian Fleming was the receiver in the center of the stack of the trips receivers to the left. Ball is snapped. Both Egbuka and the other receiver run deep. They draw 3 Notre Dame defenders back. And they have Fleming cut underneath. And he is uninhibited. He's wide open. McCord sees him, dumps it to him. He's 4 yards past the line of scrimmage. And he gets just enough to get that first down. It was a great play call. There's nothing Notre Dame could do on that. It was well executed. Ohio State did everything right. And 4th down, they move the chains, and the drive is still alive. Now, here's the crusher. Notre Dame forced an intentional grounding on McCord on 2nd and 10 inside of the Notre Dame 15. It's 3rd and 19, which for the most part, Notre Dame could handle that with no problem. This time, Notre Dame rushes 3. McCord, with a clean pocket, because he's got 5 blockers, 3 rushers coming in for the Irish, and he didn't even spend that much time in the pocket. He actually throws an anticipation deep curl on the left to Egbuka, who makes a quick turn, boxes out the Notre Dame secondary, who's trying to close in on him near the goal line, and he makes a great catch, and he's dumped at the 1-yard line. 3rd and 19, they get the first down. And again, it's a well-executed play. McCord throws a perfect pass, Egbuka runs the perfect route, and Notre Dame can't do anything about it. It's just talent. Talent wins that route. Talent wins that play. So now we get to 3rd and 1, the last play of the game. Notre Dame stops him the first 2 times inside the 1. There's 3 seconds left. And this is where I start running into problems with Marcus Freeman. The last 2 plays of that game, Notre Dame had 10 players on the field. Now, he said in the post-game conference that he did not want to give Ohio State a free play at the end of the game if he had to rush his last defensive lineman on the field, which he would have been offside. But you had a stop on 2nd down. How do you not have an 11th player all ready to go and shift him out after the play's over? This is a 37-year-old head coach in his 2nd year as the head man at Notre Dame. Mistakes happen. That's a mistake that cannot happen. Because Ohio State scores that touchdown on the left side, and they went right after the one gap where a 4th defensive lineman should be. That falls on you, Marcus. That falls on the coaching staff. And the problem was, he didn't have a timeout. So he couldn't make that correction. But you have to be prepared at all times. You're facing a more experienced coach in Ryan Day. Their guys were ready. You guys were not. the biggest play of the game, the biggest play of your season so far, and you had 10 men on the field. Not just one play, but both plays. That's frustrating. Notre Dame loses 16-14 because they had 10 men on the field at the last play of the game. Now, full marks to McCord, full marks to Ohio State. Before the game, earlier in the day, Lou Holtz, the legendary head coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, talked about the physicality of Ohio State and questioned it, saying that Notre Dame is a more physical team than Ohio State is. I mean, was he wrong? It's been proven before in the last 2 years when Ohio State has played Michigan that Jim Harbaugh's group has just basically bullied Ohio State on the ground and in the trenches. There have been questions. Georgia did the same thing despite the fact that Ohio State was a field goal away from beating them in the playoff last year. It was a question that was warranted. And he told Ohio State to bring a damn lunch because it's going to be a long-ass day for him. After the game was over, Ryan Day, after an emotional win in South Bend against the Irish, decided to take it upon himself to go after an 86-year-old man who has been out of the media limelight for years. I mean, you're going to go after Lou Holtz? Is that the bulletin board material that you have to get up for? God, I can't imagine if I played Ryan Day on a golf course, how easy it is to get into that man's head. Lou Holtz's critique of Ohio State was mild at best. And it seemed like after the game was over, when he talked about it, Ryan Day looked legitimately mad. Boy, if you are able to get up for an 86-year-old man, I can't imagine what Jim Harbaugh's words are going to be like to you come November. Now, I'm not saying Jim Harbaugh is a saint either, but he has beaten you back-to-back years. And the way I see it, the way Michigan looks this year, you might be in for a third straight year, Ryan. Remember that. But, with all that said, I think overall, looking back on it, Notre Dame last year, their second game of the season, they lost to Marshall, a MAC team. This year, they were 1 second away from beating Ohio State. The improvements of this team have been shown across the board. What happened last night was coaching at the end. Notre Dame looked every bit as worthy of being a top 10 team in this country as Ohio State is. Now, we can't say the same about Brian Kelly teams in the last 12 years. Brian Kelly teams, every time they played against a top 5 team, they get the doors blown off them because an obvious difference in talent and coaching. The talent at Notre Dame is there. They can beat top 5 teams now with what they have. And given the transfer portal and given the energy that Marcus Freeman is bringing to this program is something that Brian Kelly did not provide in the 12 years he was here. I believe in Marcus Freeman, and this program believes in Marcus Freeman. The fans believe in him. We're seeing it. Yes, last night was not ideal, and I think he'll learn from it. We're very proud of him, and we know for a fact that Notre Dame is not there yet. Our time is not now, but it is soon. That was a lot in a few minutes. So I want to leave you with this. In terms of next week, Notre Dame plays Duke. Former defensive coordinator Mike Elko is head coaching Duke, and they could be 5-0 for the first time in decades. Notre Dame's going to have its second consecutive week on College Game Day. And I just know that I could say words about Ryan Day, words about the Ohio State fans, because they're well warranted. But Lou Holtz himself said, you'll never get ahead of anybody by trying to get even with them. So I'm going to let it be. We're focused on Duke next week. Notre Dame, I think after the rankings come out tomorrow, I'd say they're going to be at about maybe 11, maybe 12. I don't think they're going to drop too far. They lost the last play of the game against Ohio State. Usually in these circumstances, the AP top 25, they drop a team maybe 1 or 2 spots at most. Ohio State, I'd imagine, will probably go up to either 4 or 5. Considering that Florida State struggled so much against Clemson, they may put Ohio State ahead of them this week, given this was a much bigger win. Considering Clemson's unranked and they look like a mess. So for next week, to everybody, for all the Notre Dame players, for Freeman, for everybody, and even the fans, just remember this. I may only be one, but I am one. I can't do everything, but I can do something. That I can do, I ought to do. And what I ought to do, by the grace of God, I'm going to do, and that is beat Duke next week. May the God of your choice bless you for today on Sunday. I hope you have a wonderful day. And as always, go Irish.